You were never afraid of the dark. Even before you had the words, you felt the pull. A call from the void. Something deeper than thought and older than memory. So you followed it. Inside, it all came rushing in. Numbers, symbols, patterns. The cosmic code revealing itself in waves. Not to confuse you, but to remind you. You've seen this before. You've read this language in another life. Your mind began to understand. But it was your heart that truly remembered. This is what decoding really is. Reuniting the thinking and the feeling, the logic and the soul. This is how you wake up. And when you do, you are not the same. You carry light codes now. You move differently. You speak in frequencies because you remember who you are. You decode to find your way home and to help others do the same. This is why we decode. Namaste. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back. This is Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. I was about 5 minutes away from hitting the live button, and I realized I did not post this to Facebook. I think I got it onto Rumble, but if I hit go live here with Facebook, it might work. So hopefully it's working. And then we might have too much sound. But anyway, so hopefully I'm simulcasting to Facebook and Rumble and YouTube. Anyway, I see you guys in the chat. Ultimus, thank you for the 5x5. Lori, thank you for being here. Vazteca Fitness is here. Welcome, you guys. So let's see, we're going to talk about lunar codes today. I've been diving deep into the moon, the sun. You guys have seen the videos on the Soli lunar cycle. And so I thought I would share with you some of my research and show you some of the amazing numerological connections, not using normal numerology. This is literally just in days and hours and seconds. It's really incredible that in that manner of analysis, the numbers that we have been following over this past year, pi, phi, the fine structure constant, seem to be falling out of this as well. So I don't know if it's just a phenomenon of me wanting to find those numbers everywhere or if they actually are everywhere. So we're going to take a look at some of that. I am going to show you a cool little technique you can use to figure out what day of the month you are going to experience a moon sun golden angle. And I'll explain what the golden angle is as well, because I have also been researching this as a potentially new aspect that we can use in astrology. Our astrology software has the ability to set up custom aspects. So you can pick a degree that you want the angle to be. So for example, a trine would be 120 degrees. You could make it 121 if you wanted, or 119 if you wanted to. So I have created a golden angle with the help of Michael Hartigan of One Sky Astrology, who I had a wonderful conversation with this morning as part of his dialogue series. So hopefully that video will be coming out. You guys can check that out. But anyway, he taught me how to do that. So I created this angle and I have applied it to my options in the background. So when I run a chart, if there are any phoenix or golden angles, then they show up as a bright green line. So, and that particular angle is 137.5 degrees, which is the fine structure constant. So I have also been just kind of watching some fine structure constant videos today, and I would like to direct your attention to some of those. I wanted to show you some parts of this really, really amazing video that I also linked below. So do check that out. So I will show you all of that. Then we're going to talk a little bit about eclipses and the eclipse cycle, because that's the greater cycle of these lunar cycles that we watch every month. And eclipses are not just a once in a while type of thing. They happen every 6 months or so. In fact, every 173 days, which is a permutation of 137. So we'll look at that as well. That's super interesting. And then we are going to look, the whole reason for me putting this presentation together is because I found a concept called an exeligmos, which is Exeligmos, and it's 3 Saros cycles, which are families of eclipses. So we're going to dive into all of that. So hopefully you will find this presentation today informative, and if at the very least entertaining. So that's what I am going to show you today. What have I been up to? So the book came out. Well, it was sort of a soft launch. It didn't go as glamorously as I had wanted it to. I was ready to go literally early April, but that Pisces soup moving through all that retrograde energy, it just felt so hard literally to do anything or to even really understand anything. And of course, being in the normal style of how I choose to do things, I literally picked a platform to publish my book that was the hardest you could pick for a novice. So after much banging my head on the wall and asking to remove my files from their platform, I am waiting for Amazon to give me the green light. So that should come soon. And then, of course, we have stellar foundations. So I did want to talk to you guys just a little bit about those before I actually dove into what we're going to talk about today. And I also want to just look at the sky and check in with the vibes and the energies and make sure everybody is doing good. So it looks like we have Christine Yan here. Thanks for coming. It's Monday. It's Moon Day. I wanted to do this yesterday, but it was Sunday. So we want to do this talk on lunar codes on a Monday. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, you guys, we will just, here's what I'm going to do. Instead of looking at the sky first, like I was planning on it, and then showing you these websites, I'm going to show you the websites first. Then we'll look at the sky. Then I'm going to show you a video, and then we'll dive into the presentation. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Please put your questions in the comments if you have any, or if you have anything that you can contribute to this conversation, I'd certainly appreciate it. So, all right, guys, let's get into this. Let me share. Entire screen, share. And then we'll hide. All right, first thing, if you would like to dive into the book right now, you don't want to wait for a paperback, you just can't wait to get your teeth into this, then you can go to my website, drdanny.com. And on there, you have the option to get either a PDF or the EPUB. There is an electronic version out there on Barnes & Noble, courtesy of Ingram Spark Publishing, but that may not be there for very long. And I'm not even sure they're going to pay me for it the way that it's been working out. So if you wanted to get started into the book, or at least get something that you can sink your teeth into, these are nice options. EPUB is for the Kindles, and PDF is if you don't have a book reader. If you order the wrong copy, let me know and I'll get you the right version. I spent most of April, about 2 or 3 hours a day, recording this audiobook. This is 7 hours of my voice narrating this book for you. So it's hoping something more to you coming from me. It's done in my professional sound studio to the left of me. So if you're going to enjoy that, that is on Gumroad. And Gumroad also gives you the option to add one of these PDFs to it if you want to. So check it out over there if you want to get into that. If you want to wait, just give me a couple days, because I think I'll hear from Amazon this week. So that's that. And then, of course, in the excitement with the book and the publishing companies, don't forget, Stellar Foundations is coming out. So we've got this amazing course here that I wanted to just highlight for you real quick before we get into any. This is literally the building block of how we grow this type of a practice. It is, if you add in the office hours to this number of hours, it's almost 4 semesters of basically like lecture and material. And you can do it all at once if you want to. You can take your time. It's yours for life. It's yours for however long it serves you. And it's not just these 6 blocks. It's this whole thing here. I have to zoom out for you to see it all. This is all 13 weeks plus the prerequisites that you'll dive into right away. And in this, you'll learn everything about all the glyphs, the flavors of the planet houses and constellations. You get a comprehensive supplement, and then you get a sun, moon, rising resource document that you can dive right into. When we start our first meeting, which is 2 weeks from today, at 6 p.m., we're going to get everybody into their software. We're going to meet everybody. We're going to get the first burning questions out of the way. And then y'all dive right into Scorpio. And you go clockwise around the zodiac each week. And every 2 or 3 weeks, we meet and we discuss different topics. So, like the second week we meet, I'm going to dive into aspects and Venus and Mercury and the personal planets. And then the third week, I'm going to talk to you about scientific principles about why astrology works. And then in the week, we're going to learn how to do predictive techniques like transits and progressions and things like that. And then in the fifth one, we practice together. And then in the last class, we talk about Ophiuchus. And this is where it all comes together, you guys. This is what this book is about. It's about this cosmic healer's journey and really coming to know yourself through this process. And when you sign up, you can go into our previous office hour recordings if you want to study ahead and see what those office hours are like. So you get all of this, and all of these weeks break out. So like week 1 is all of a planet deep dive, some astronomy, some astrology, a couple of meditations, a research document. All of this is in here. It's 2 years of college study. You get a copy of the book. You get a 33% discount on future courses and my readings. So if you want a reading while you're working with me, it's not going to cost you what it costs on the main page. You can do monthly payments. Okay. And if you've already done coursework with me, or if you already have Prometheus Capricorn, email me. I'll give you a code and you can jump in with us. And then if you don't want all of the esoteric stuff that's in here, like you've already embodied the constellations and planets and houses and you have a pretty good grasp on it, but you want to get into more of the techniques, then you want to do the Stellar Foundations Light. And release you on, whether you stick with us for 4 months or not, but that's the curriculum. It's basically 4 months. So a 4-month commitment should be part of you saying yes to this. And it's $88 a month. But you don't get all the meditations. You don't get all those different modules. You get basically the bones. But everything that's in here is the same as my $195 level 1, 2, and 3 comprehensive course. So you get all of this. You could sign in for 1 month and sign out, and you would have that in your pocket. So I just think that this is such a great program, and it's the people that make it work. And the first group has been amazing, and a lot of them are continuing the journey with us, with the new people. So it won't be such a intimidating environment. There's all levels of learning here. And I really encourage you guys to at least come check it out. Email me if you have any questions. If you want to talk about it, we can also set up a call. Okay. So there's that. All right. Let's look at the sky. Look at this beautiful sky. Oh, also, you guys, save the date, September 27th. It's a Saturday, 10 and 2 o'clock. I'm going to be on a 4-hour summit presentation for the official rollout of the International Society or International Sidereal Astrology Association. I was invited to do a 30-minute talk, and I have accepted. So I hope you guys can join us for that. But this is right now. This is the sky above my head. I actually had the atmosphere on. I was like, let's just walk outside and see what's happening. And you can do this with Stellarium, which is nice. Stellarium-web.org. Just take out the clouds. And we'll look and see exactly where the sun and moon are to orient ourselves in space and time. We can throw in the constellations and the art and look at that. This is a sun that is right here in Aries. Actually, it's a little bit closer to Cetus. I learned very recently that Triangulum here and the head of Cetus were once all part of Aries as well. So this is Aries. This is not Taurus. We're not over here. Not yet. This will occur probably around the 13th. Yeah, the 13th of May, we will finally move into Taurus season. But there's still a lot of bodies in Pisces. The moon, where's the moon? Right here. We just had a new moon yesterday, so it looks like we have already moved into Taurus, which is nice. Taurus moons are always really, really wonderful. It is it is a waxing crescent moon, which means in the morning before sunrise, you will see, uh, or actually now after the new moon, we'll see it after sunsets. So we'll see the waxing crescent just as the sun is setting if you have a clear sky. And then Jupiter will be above it. So that's nice. So this has felt wonderful. This whole sun moving into Aries. I don't know about you guys, but this Pisces soup, it's been very dreamy, very interesting, fun, but, I've been feeling the need for clarity, especially around trying to do something as concrete and physical and material as getting a book published. I will tell you, I've gone through some very dark days with this whole process, and I really literally just blame it on these retrogrades and this deep, foggy, dark energy of Pisces. It is dreamy, it is mystical, but a lot of times it's the bottom of the ocean. It's inertia. There's very little movement. You know, when you have two things, that duality pulling at you, you tend to stay in one place. And we still have Mercury there. Venus will be there definitely for, oh my gosh, probably about 5, 6 more weeks. On the 8th of June, she moves out of Pisces and into Aries. That's going to feel really nice. In about a week or so, Mercury is going to move into Aries, and that will, I think, fire up communications. It will fire up commerce. It will fire up some movement and exchange and ideas and creativity. So I'm 100% looking forward to that. How are you guys feeling through all of that? Do you guys feel pretty good? Feeling better these days? Desiree's here. Hi, Desiree. Diana's here. Hi. We also have Jupiter up here, midheaven right now, actually. Still in the constellation of Taurus. So tropical astrology would have Jupiter over here in Gemini, but if you were to actually look at the sky, you will see Jupiter in Taurus. This is so nice. This has been so nice. This just expands self-worth, depending on the planets that you have in your constellational natal Taurus. So, for example, if your sun's over here, if your own Jupiter is over here, then you are having some very impactful conjunctions and transits as Jupiter moves through this space. Very shortly, like within a month, I want to say, maybe less than that, the sun is going to conjunct with Uranus. And this is interesting. This has actually inspired me to create a series and a little educational series for the sun planet cycles. So every year plus a few days, the sun and Uranus make a complete cycle with one another. And so what does that mean over the course of those 370 days? What does that feel like for sun type energy as it moves in aspect to Uranus? So we'll do one for Uranus, we'll do one for Jupiter, and we'll do one for Mars as the days move on and the sun gets closer to them, so we can more or less analyze that larger cycle as well. And then we have Mars in Cancer. Ugh, I think this is part of my angst right here, because personally, this is over my sun, which, rules Leo and the fifth house. And a lot of my obsession and drive and decoding and attention to details is in that space. And so when Mars, the planet of action, is in this sort of watery sign, like over my sun, I just feel like it should feel better than it does. I feel very restrained by this energy, even though I've been telling people, this is good. This is, focusing on the self, taking action on the self, nurturing the self. It's like, Dr. Heal thyself kind of energy for me. But yeah, I have a Leo Mars. So my Mars is more, action oriented. Let's stop sitting around moping and being in inertia. Let's stop going sideways. So I'm looking forward to Mars is completing this transit. I will also have Pluto opposing my sun for the next 3 years too. So there's definitely some interesting energies there, some vulnerabilities and revealings for me. All right, cool. So that is the sky. I want to talk to you guys about the fine structure constant. I want you to understand what this entity, what this number is, what it means, because I've talked to you a lot about pi and phi, and a lot of you intuitively understand what those ratios mean, and that's wonderful because what those 2 ratios explain to us is the circle and the spiral, which is what we're doing with astrology. We have these circles, these cycles that we're watching, but because time is always moving forward, we are in fact spiraling. Because as time moves forward, that circle never completes the circle. It always is spiraling just one level or one unit or whatever you want to call it above the previous circle. These cycles in time that we are living through in real time. And so we've watched these cycles throughout time, throughout history. We've created science disciplines around all of it, trying to understand the sphere and the soul and sacred geometry and all of that. And it led us to the subatomic world and the understanding of electromagnetism and how that works and the quantum state and the Planck distance and the Planck time and all of this. So now we have a really good understanding of how the very, very fine particulate matter of the universe may or may not work. And when you dive into atoms and electrons and the way they interact with one another, the number 1 over 137 shows up. It is a constant. It's not unlike pi or phi, except that while those two explain some sort of geometry and they are potentially unitless, this fine structure constant is not. It is more of like a constant that describes a relationship between other constants. So it describes the relationship between, the electric impulse between atoms, without getting too complicated. And it really has a lot of play on out there on YouTube if you're looking for it. So what I wanted to do, I'm just going to mute my uh, external volume here, and I want to take you through some of this video right here. Well, I won't get an ad. I'm not actually going to play it, but I want to show you this. So this is a guy who likes math, who likes base 12 math, and is also a number file. And he's called the Base 12 Universe. Doesn't have a lot of videos, doesn't really post that much, but this one's pretty popular. Um, 137 describes the fine structure constant. I didn't know this. This is really amazing. 137 is the number of atoms in the chlorophyll uh, compound, which is critical to plant photosynthesis and the oxygen that we actually breathe. So freaking chlorophyll, like plants' lungs, is 137. 137.5, which is what I'm analyzing in astrology. This guy doesn't even know I do astrology, and he's got this angle already here. The golden angle in degrees, the golden ratio pattern of radial growth and fractal self-similarity in nature. In other words, when you look at plants, the way that they grow, this pattern allows them to have the maximum number of sunlight uh, exposure by growing in this fractal pattern. And then if you take the numbers 1, 3, and 7, you get the highest density packing of identical circles of the hexagonal shape. So you have 1 for the middle, and then you have 6 around it, which is a total of 7, comprised of triangular packings, which is 3 circles, of individual circles, which is 1. The current age of the universe in billions of years is 13.7 to 13.8, and then, of course, 137 is the 33rd prime. So he goes into a little bit about how to calculate it. The link to this video is below. Please go here. But what I like here is he explains that angle that I've been trying to show you guys the last couple videos pretty nicely with this slide right here. And so that's what we're going to study. We're going to study this aspect between these 2 points on this particular circle of the golden angle. The other thing that's interesting is here's that pattern of how plants grow. In order to maximize their exposure, they use that golden angle. And the reason I'm showing you all this is because since it's a new aspect or something we haven't considered before, then energy behind this aspect. Like we understand a square, we understand a trine, we understand uh, oppositions and conjunctions, but what would a 137-degree angle mean? Well, geometrically, it means something. Numerologically, it certainly means something, which I've shown you and I'll show you again in a little bit. but that's the hexagonal packing that they were talking about. So I just found that so super fascinating. I suggest you go and watch this, video. Another correlation he makes is the honeycomb. It is this 137 pattern if you add another 12 around it. This is one of the most, efficient structures, the strongest structures. And then in here, he goes into some base 12 stuff, which is really, really interesting. So if you guys wanna geek out on that, you can, but that video is below, so please check it out. Alright, let's see. Desiree says, "I feel okay, seem to be spacey, though." Yes, I know exactly what you're feeling it. Lori is over the Pisces soup, so am I. I'm ready for some fire. Let's go up here to the presentation, and we'll put it in present mode. What color should we write in today? Let's do dark blue. Okay. All right, lunar codes. So we're going to dive into the fine structure constant a little bit. We're going to represent that as that alpha symbol up there. We're going to talk about the golden aspect. We're going to go through a complete moon cycle from new moon to new moon and relevant golden angles throughout the next month. This will be moon making a golden aspect to the sun. There are a couple of days each cycle that we can pinpoint and look to and analyze to see what this angle might feel like. So we'll analyze that cycle. There's some really cool numerology in that. We're going to talk about eclipses, when they happen, how they happen, all that good stuff. And then we're going to talk about the Saros cycle, the difference between the cycle and the series, and the exeligmos cycle. All right, so this is the new timeline for the coming astrology, and what we'll see is this sun moving because the sun, our timekeeper, and these colors indicate the constellation that we're going through. So the red is Aries, the orange is Taurus, the yellow is Gemini, the light green is Cancer, the dark green is Leo, the light blue is Virgo. And we had one eclipse on the 29th of March, and we will have another on the 21st of March. And what I have represented on this timeline for you are two different ways of analyzing the cycle of the moon. So we have what's called the synodic cycle, and we have the sidereal cycle. There's also the draconic cycle and the anomalistic cycle. And we're going to go over all of those. Those will not be foreign terms to you at all. But the one that you are most familiar with is this synodic cycle, which is new moon to new moon, or phase cycle. And the reason it's the one we most understand, it's because the one we see in the sky every single night or every single day when we look up and see the moon. So the distance between these two eclipses, the one that happened on the 29th, which is back here, okay, and this one, which is coming in September, is 100, and the average, okay, it can vary a little bit, but on average, it's 173.3 days. This is a permutation of 173. When you're a number file like I am, or you see patterns and codes, this is fair game. And I'll show you why it works. So this is alpha. This describes this fine structure constant. This describes the strength of electrons between electromagnetism. And it's so precise, this number, this ratio, this constant, if you will, that if it was just a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, atoms wouldn't stick together. Chemistry wouldn't happen. The element of carbon would not have been created. So this is very important. And it's interesting that the numbers 1, 3, and 7 are showing up here in the eclipse cycle periodicity. And this is just half a year. So here's 1 over 137 described as alpha. If we look at the number 137, if you go to numberempire.com, you will find that this number is the 33rd prime. In numerology, this is the master teacher number. This is the number of illumination. of expansion, of tapping into the Christ consciousness. You don't have to call it Christ, but you get what I'm saying. It's that pure source light. That's what the 33 represents in numerology. It's a master teacher number, which is why it's often associated with Christ. You have 33 vertebrae in your spine, and that's the course of your chakra system in your physical body. So 33 is a big deal. And the fact that this 137 is the 33rd prime and our universe wouldn't exist if it was, slightly lower or slightly higher than 137 is very, very interesting. Eclipses, if you spell it in the numerology phi cipher, in other words, it uses the digits in the string of the ratio of 1.618 dash, 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 all the way out to infinity, associating our alphabet letters with it. If you type in eclipses, you get the number 33. I mean, wow. I just think this is kind of cool. This is a synchronicity. Yeah. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe. But it's certainly an affirmation to me that we're looking at some sacred energy here. We're looking at some sacred coding, maybe some science that isn't quite science yet, a magic that we haven't quite put our fingers around yet. So let's talk about this golden aspect. So like I showed you on that gentleman's video, do check out his video if you're interested in that. This golden angle is derived by taking this distance of this circle here, this blue line, such that the ratio between this red line and this blue line is 1.618. If you lay that out on a circle and you put, like, say, the moon here and the sun here, you get an angle, you get an aspect, and it's 137.5 degrees. So like I told you, I put this in our software. And this is what these angles look like. I put a little green line over it so it looked a little bit, stronger. And this is what we will be analyzing. But we will be analyzing this from the perspective of the moon and the sun, just so we can feel out what this energy might mean. Already we've got a sense that there's something very sacred and profound around it with the number 33. If you spell 13 in that phi cipher, 13 is 33. Rebirth is 33. So it's super interesting. So to have 13 come into that, through that cipher, 13 is Ophiuchus. It's that 13th sign that breaks the mold, that is right before the galactic center, which is this rebirth energy. Okay. So 33 has this resonance around it that is directly tied into this angle. How does that manifest in physical reality? Well, we have to see how this clock plays out and see what actually transpires in our lives. So pi and phi is also 33 if you spell those out into the phi cipher. So there you go. There you have it. You have the circle, which is pi, and then you have this angle on the circle derived from phi, giving us the golden angle, which is literally the fine structure constant. Okay, so pi, phi, and the fine structure constant. So now let's do our moon cycle analysis as we head on to slide 13. There's a couple things we have to define so that we're speaking the same language, because when you're doing calculations, you don't want to mix up units, because then you're doing something that doesn't make sense. So there's distance, okay? And there's a couple ways you can measure distance. Distance is typically length from here to there, right? That's easy. But when we're talking about a circle, which is the chart we're using, which is the stellosphere that we are analyzing, you have a concept now called arc distance. So when lines curve, you measure distance in arcs, which are degrees, okay? And there are one full circle, so one full rotation around that curved line, when it meets back on itself again, is 360 degrees. That's the arc distance of that line that is now a circle. Time is also another way that we measure what we're doing. And it's basically simple. It's how many days, hours, minutes does it take for the moon to travel from one point on the circle to the next? So how long does it take the moon to go from 0 degrees all the way around to 360? What is the days, hours, and minutes for that movement? And there are a couple frames of references that the moon uses in order for us to calculate that. Okay. And we'll get into that a little bit. But how long does it take for the moon to travel 137 degrees from 0 degrees? What is that in days, hours, and minutes? Okay. So we'll have this degrees, which is the distance, and then in the amount of time in days, hours, and minutes. And sometimes I'll take the days and the days will be fractions of one another. So it'll be like 10.9, for example. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Basic stuff. I find it very, very interesting that if we take 360 degrees and we do simple arithmetic and we think about the number 33, so we're basically dividing that circle into 33 slices of pie. Each one of those pieces of pie is going to be 10.9 degrees. Okay. If we take, so I just want you to keep that number in your mind, that 10.9 degrees, because I'm going to show you something that will knock your socks off. You may not even understand why I'm telling you all this, but hopefully you'll see the connection and it will be useful to you because I want you to remember what we're doing here as it will help you in the future. Remember when these golden angles are occurring between sun and moon. So let's take our circle, let's take our astrology wheel and let's analyze it. Let's forget tropical versus sidereal versus Vedic versus a whole different universe. It doesn't matter. We are within the circle of the sun and the moon, and nothing else exists. Okay. That's our reference frame for this analysis. So we'll put sun and moon right here. And what we will do is label this particular conjunction of sun and moon as the new moon on April 27th of 2025. Now, in real life, the sun does its own little journey around this wheel, okay? But again, we don't care. It's just the sun and the moon's universe right now, and that is the only reference frame that we are dealing with. So hopefully that makes sense. It's not this whole thing shifts a little bit to the right if we are actually, trying to fix the reference frame to the sky rather than just the microcosm of the sun and the moon. So this was April 27th of 2025 at 15:20 p.m. my time, okay? And I wanted to analyze the movements of this moon and find out where these phoenix angles are or where these golden angles exist. And the moon is going to move in this direction in a counterclockwise fashion on the birth chart as well as in this example. But I wanted to go back in time a little bit and, when was the last one? What happened that day? Was there anything interesting that happened on the previous golden angle? So I went back in time a little bit and I just called this the pre-new moon phoenix angle. And this happened precisely my time on April 16th at 16:44 p.m. This was a very weird day. Now, this is hours long, this aspect. It's a really, really tight aspect. I do remember that day. I journaled that day because I had a really rough day. It was like nothing was working. I had some computer problems. It was very interesting. I could further analyze that. Where was that in my houses? Where was that in the actual sky? But this is the last time that we had this particular angle of the sun and the moon in the moon sun microcosm. So we move on. How far is it? What is the distance in time? We know it's going to be 137.5 degrees in distance, in arc distance, for the moon to meet up with the sun again. But what is that distance in time? Like how long does that actually take? So we're going to calculate. So the arc distance is 137.5 degrees, which is 1 over alpha, because alpha is 1 over 137. Okay, so that arc distance equals that value. And we're just going to put that up there as a reminder. And the time to this next new moon is 10 days, 22 hours, and 33 minutes. Precisely. So if you want to screenshot these and put it into your calculator and check my calculations, you can. But I find it very, very interesting that in time, we have this number of 10.9 days. About 11 days. Okay. So if you go from April 16th to April 27th, that is 11 days. Watch this. Remember this? 360 divided by 33 is 10.9 degrees. Now we are talking in different units, but the same number is popping up, that 11. If we take 365, which is our unit in days, that's what that's how long it takes for the sun to traverse this circle. If we divide that by 33, then it takes 11 days, 1 hour and 26 minutes. Okay, so approximately 11. Sun, interestingly enough, if you were to take the SUN and put it into the Chaldean numerology cipher, S is 3, U is 6, and Sun is 5 in that cipher. Gives us 365. Fascinating. So fascinating to me. Okay. So now that we know where the previous angle was, where's the next angle? When is this going to happen for us again? When will we get to see what a moon-sun golden angle will feel like? This is going to be precisely 10.9 days away, May 18th, or May 8th. I'm sorry, May 8th. So today's the 28th, so 10 days from now. But 10 days, 21 hours, and 33 minutes. Isn't that fascinating that they're both 33? Now, not every cycle is like this. I think this one was like this. They wiggle a little bit because the moon's orbit isn't perfect, and neither is the sun, and neither is Earth. There's a little bit of jiggle here. But for this particular study, these popped up for me to confirm what I'm doing here. So I hope that makes sense. But there's that 10.9. Again, there's that approximately 11 days. In between this post-Phoenix angle or this post-golden angle, I know I keep using two names for it. I still haven't quite decided what I want to call it. I call it Phoenix because of the 138 orbital periodicity of the Phoenix phenomenon, but I also see the fine structure constant here. So we can say golden angle, Phoenix angle. We have a full moon in between May 8th and the next golden angle or Phoenix angle, and that's on May 12th. But when is this? This is May 16th. This is a shorter time frame. And you can see that because of how the geometry plays out and how the moon has to move a longer distance between new moon to Phoenix angle and from Phoenix angle to new moon. But between these two, it's a much shorter distance. And it's a much shorter time frame too. So the distance in time is 7.83 days. So about 7-ish days. And this will also vary too. This will vary between 7.2 and 7.9. This will vary between 10 and 14, 10 days, 14 hours, and 11 days and 10 hours. So these will vary. But for this particular cycle that we've analyzed, this is what we get. And so I just thought it was really interesting. I wanted to show you what came out of the research that I was doing, these little synchronicities that were popping up as I was analyzing this cycle. And so I said, hey, Chet, I got this for my observed days and months. I got 29.6. How does that play out? Because you quoted me, the average synodic month was 29.5, and then gave me this range. So we can have some wiggle in this. And the reason is because of the elliptical orbits, gravitational tugs, and nodal shifts. Okay, so we're back to this timeline. We understand this space here. We've looked at the dates, but I want to show you another way to analyze this 11, 11, and 7 so that you can automatically go, okay, there's a new moon 11 days before and 11 days after. There's this sun moon golden angle or Phoenix angle. So there's 416 in the red line right here. And from this moment in time to the new moon yesterday was 11 days. Okay. Our next angle will be on 518. So that's when the moon and sun will create that aspect again. And that is 11 days from yesterday. So we have one coming up here. The next one is 516. And that, of course, is about 11 days. It's a little less than 11 days to the next new moon in Taurus with that synodic cycle. And in between, we have the full moon and approximately 7 days between. So what happens when you stare at this for a second? You see between these two blue lines, this synodic cycle, this phase cycle between the moons, there is 2 11s and 1 7. So let's just combine the 11s. You get 22 and 7. That's another way to actually calculate pi. For those of you that are number lovers, if you know anything about pi, 22/7 was the way that they would express pi a long time ago, like maybe 2,000 years ago, whenever they figured this number out. It was 22/7. And there's videos out there if you're interested in how they got to this number. But 22/7 is one of the most accurate ways to express 3.14, etc. So I thought that was really interesting. So that should help you remember whenever we have one of these new moons, guys. If you want to look for these golden angles on the 16th, 8th, and 16th here, there'll be another one after this new moon in about 11 days. So if you count 11 days from 5/26, that will be the next Phoenix angle. I really want you to do this because I want you to tell me if you feel anything energetically around it, if it means anything to you, if something happens that we can begin to associate with this golden angle or this Phoenix angle. So that's what I have on that. Now, we've already talked about the synodic month being approximately 29 days. We saw that in our actual observations when we used our software to calculate the dates and the times when these things were happening. But there's also the sidereal month. This is when the reference frame becomes not the sun, but the stars. Like 19 degrees of Pisces, for example. That's when we had our last eclipse. That's where the sun and the moon were on 19 degrees of Pisces when we used the midpoint boundaries. Okay. So every time the moon comes back to 19 degrees Pisces, that is a sidereal month. And that's 27.321 days. Now, I'll tell you briefly what the draconic month is. And the anomalistic, I don't even think I need to explain it. They're all close to a fixed reference frame that has nothing to do with the sun. Okay. So the draconic month has to do with the nodes. So wherever the north node is right now, it takes the moon 27.21 days to come back to that node. And the reason it's the smallest number is because the nodes drift in the opposite direction of the moon very, very slowly. So you'll find that this is one of the quickest months for the moon to meet back up with her nodes. Okay. So these three are used to help us determine eclipse cycles. This one is more subtle. This one you can use for example, tender points or critical spots on your chart. There are some theories that, wherever your sun is, when the moon crosses over that, that's a tender spot. The midpoint boundary between your sun and moon is a tender spot. You may have a certain spot where the moon in a certain constellation or hitting a certain star rubs you the wrong way or triggers you in certain ways. And that will happen every 27.32. Okay. That is actually the distance of the month I am watching right here with these numbers. These are when the moon goes back to the previous and the coming eclipse points. So this eclipse is in Virgo, and the moon will be there on 8/23, on 7/24, and on 6/25. Or I'm sorry, these dates. The next one is July 1st for this. These are going forward in time 27.3 days from this eclipse, 25th, 23rd, and the 19th. Okay, so we just had this one. The next one is a few days before this new moon, and that is a sidereal cycle. So the synodic is phase to phase, the new moon to new moon, the one we can see, the one that's really obvious. The sidereal one helps us track these waves of energy from the eclipses. All right. So there it is, 27.3 days. What's so fascinating about this number, when we take the moon's orbit away from the sun and take it out of the sun's reference frame and move it into that fixed reference frame of either the nodes or a fixed star, we get a very interesting number in terms of time. We get 27.3 days or 27.2 days or 27.5 days, but it's all kind of around that number 27. It can be as low as 26.9. This formula is 27.2. This is your fine structure constant. your pi, and your phi. That formula of 3 constants gives you this number. These are all unitless, okay? There's no degrees, there's no distance, there's no time in these. But it's super interesting that it gives us that number. So if you want to look up the value for those constants and plug those in there, I promise you'll get that number or something very close to it. So that is why I am nerding out on these numbers, because they're intricately tied to a lunar cycle. And that's what we're studying in astrology. So why does it work? How does it work? These lunar cycles are part of bigger cycles as well. Eclipses happen twice a year, and each eclipse is part of a larger 18-year cycle, and each 18-year cycle is part of an even larger 1,500-year series. Okay, so we're going to zoom way out now. So we have that 27.3-day cycle, and the Saros cycle happens. There's usually about anywhere from 70 to 80 eclipses that occur through time at the same exact synodic spot, draconic spot, and anomalistic spot. So in other words, the eclipse that we just had, if none of that makes sense, don't worry. In other words, all of these cycles will line up every 18 years and 11 days, I think. Yeah, 18 years and 11 days, so that the eclipse happens almost at the exact same spot. So we just had one in Pisces at 19 degrees of Pisces. What will happen 18 years and 11 days from now is there will be another solar eclipse at that point, maybe a degree or two off. Okay? So when all of these cycles that are aligned to other fixed energies, as well as the synodic month, when they all line up, that is when you get an eclipse within a family. And that particular eclipse was Saros cycle number 149. So we will not see another 149 eclipse for 18 years. Okay? That's how they do it. And you can have up to 70 or 80 of these eclipses. And even though they're in the same constellation at the very beginning of their cycle, it's a polar event. And then as it moves through its evolution, it spirals around the Earth each time it comes back, and it ends as a polar event on either pole opposite from where it started. Super interesting. So the synodic month, you need the moon and the sun to line up, basically. That's every time the moon and sun line up, that's one synodic month. That's the sun's reference frame. That's the longest lunar cycle. That's the one we see. The draconic month is from node to node. So you also need the lunar nodes to line up. And that's how eclipses happen, and that's why. And then for the anomalistic month, that has to do with how intense the eclipse is. Is it a full complete eclipse, or is it an annular eclipse? You don't really have to think about that too much, but the annular eclipses is when the moon is farther away from Earth at its apogee. So when all of that lines up, you get an eclipse in one particular Saros cycle. Okay, here's a fun one. This is just numbers, okay? If you add up all the synodic months, meaning sun, moon meeting together within one Saros cycle, the 18 years, in other words, how many months between when 149 shows up in March and when it shows up again, 223 synodic months, 242 draconic months, and 239 anomalistic months. So we basically get the same number here, 6,585 days and 8 hours, basically. That's the number of days in one Saros cycle, that 118-year period. All right? Watch this. This is so cool. If you multiply alpha over phi by that number, you get the freaking synodic cycle again. So one calculation of this gives you, like, if you take the fine structure constant and do a little math with this, you get the sidereal cycle. But if you take the entire Saros cycle and you apply these constants to it, then you get the synodic cycle. So I found another connection between these three constants. and the moon's apparent cycles. So you could basically sum it up to this, that one Saros cycle is equal to one synodic lunar cycle times phi over alpha, which is phi golden ratio, golden angle over the fine structure constant. I don't know if that's useful, but that's a nice relationship. That's a nice way of thinking about how these smaller cycles fit into these larger cycles. They fit in geometrically because these are geometric references. They fit in energetically because this is an electromagnetic reference. So we have geometry and electromagnetism. So one of these Saros cycles has the numerological energy of geometry and electromagnetism. I just think it's fascinating. All right, so let's get into the Saros cycle, the bigger picture of these energies. So the Saros cycle is 18 years, 11 days, and 80 hours, but a Saros series is a family of eclipses connected by repeated Saros cycles. So, for example, Saros cycle 145 was at August 21st of 2017. So every 18 years, another eclipse from Saros cycle 145 happens. This particular cycle began in 1653 at the very, very tippy top of the planet and will end in 3009. Okay, so there are about 70 to 80 eclipses from Saros cycle 145 in the series 145. Just watch this video a little bit so you can see what I mean, how the eclipses spread over time, and watch these dates. So you can see how it's a huge cycle. And the family of that eclipse, meaning that Pisces eclipse that's always in Pisces, will be moving across the planet, or the shadow will be moving across the planet in this way. This looks like a snake to me. When you map the whole what it looks like when you map it around the planet, there's this coiling energy wrapping around our planet. This is the energy of the moon and the sun, the shadow of the sun. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I want to talk to you about the eclipse we just had and the eclipse that's coming in September. So Saros series 149, it's each cycle length is 18 years and 11 days, and there are 71 eclipses. And the first one was a partial eclipse on August 21st of 1664. And the last partial eclipse will be on September 28th of 2926. Okay, and all of these eclipses will occur at the moon's ascending nodes. Now, this next eclipse is a little more interesting. Saros cycle 154 is relatively young. Look at this. It started on July 19th in 1917. Okay, and this one is number 8 in a sequence of 71 eclipses. So this one, I think, it doesn't say it on here, but it was 21. Oh yeah, the 21st eclipse. So this, the last eclipse we had was the 21st eclipse in a series of 71. And this one that's coming is number 8 in a series of 71 eclipses. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, this one's younger. So it's probably a more polar energy. This one will be at the south node of the moon. Now, the number 71, I just want to show you this. You can go to Sabidium.com and type in a number and see where it is in the irrational string of phi and pi. And in phi, which is 1.618, et cetera, 71 appears at the 317th digit of the golden ratio after the decimal point. And 317, remember, is a permutation of our 173. But I'll do you one even better. I'm going to put 317 into pi's digits, and I get 137. Okay, so 71. No, the number of eclipses in both of these Saros cycles is literally tied to pi and phi through the fine structure constant. And then, of course, 137 is the 33rd prime. And one lunar cycle is 1 over alpha over pi over phi. So there you have it. Amazing. Eclipses are 33. And then, of course, we have, I'm not sure why I put that on there. Oh, to show you that phi was the cipher. And this slide right here is actually what started this whole presentation, this whole thing. I came across this word. In fact, the PowerPoint is actually called the exeligmos. That's what I titled it. And I looked it up. And again, 33 popped out. I said, it's 54 years and 33 days. There's something so sacred about that number. I didn't really know, what it was. But it turns out it's 3 Saros cycles. And it gives you how many synodic months it is. It gives you the draconic months. It gives you how many eclipse seasons or years, and then anomalistic months. So there's so much to decode here. I didn't do any of that. I just wanted to sort of look into the energy of the exeligmos. It's 3 Saros cycles. So you can potentially live through an entire exeligmos. So for example, when I was a young girl, when I was about 4 years old, we had a total solar eclipse over North Carolina. And the eclipse that we just had in April of last year was part of an exeligmos of that Saros cycle. So I thought that was really interesting. So one Saros cycle is 6585 days, and then the exeligmos is 19,000 days. Now, Saros cycle in Chaldean numerology gives us the number 34. 34 is selenium on our periodic table. Selene is the name of the moon goddess, and there's a moon picture on this. And I just think that synchronicity is really, really interesting. And I don't think it was planned. I think it is for sure some kind of coincidence. Sure. Moon, if you take it into the pi cipher, because you can take an alphanumeric cipher with pi as well, you get 34. And then the number 34 is also a Fibonacci number, which encodes phi. Okay. You can see it right here, number 34. 34. Saros cycle in the phi cipher, because you can play around with different ciphers. You don't have to stick to just one if it doesn't speak to you. You get the number 50. Well, what element is this? This is tin. Do you see this picture? You guys should know what this is. You study astrology, right? It's K2 and Rahu, the moon's lunar nodes. And I love that if you spell them in the phi cipher, you get 149, which is literally the Saros cycle we were just in. So, yeah, cool synchronicities. So just to review, to sum all of this up, and we'll have a little question and answer if you guys want, if you guys are hanging out and listening. The golden aspect or the phoenix aspect is a 137.5 degree used in energetic analysis, and it is derived from phi and pi. 22/7 equals pi and is a useful mnemonic for marking the moon-sun golden angle aspect dates. Pi, phi, and 137 show the underlying geometry and code of reality, and eclipses are part of a much larger energetic cycle, bringing in geometry and magnetism through the Saros cycle and the exeligmos. And Saros cycles are families of eclipses that span 4 centuries. So thank you guys for listening. We're going to end on slide 88, which is radium, which if you add the atomic mass and the atomic number of radium, you get pi. You can check out, if you like to decode, you can go to decoda.co and see all those beautiful ciphers that Logan of Decode Your Reality and Jordan with Waters Above Crypto created. And it's free, hundreds of ciphers, all for you to check out. Cosmic Sugar has the cards and the dates and the tarot. Number Empire will analyze numbers for you. Subidium.com will get you the string of digits. The Royal Chemistry Society and ChemSpeller will help you play with the periodic table. And of course, I use Capricorn Prometheus for my astrological analysis. And ultimately, my biggest source is Source, because that's what inspires me. That's what moves me forward. That's what helps me in my creative endeavors to bring you the bleeding edge of the combined sciences of metaphysics, spirituality, and astrology. So I hope that was fun for you guys. Let's get into this and stop sharing. All right. Christine Yan says, bam. Awesome. Thank you. Elizabeth Ann says, holy moly. Yeah, that's how I feel when I look at it. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, that was interesting for me. I just came across that word and then I started looking at the dates and then I said, man, I need to figure out when these Phoenix angles are happening. And the sun and the moon are really the easiest one to map out first before I start trying to tell you guys what a Jupiter black moon Lilith golden angle means. We need to analyze this through the lunar cycle. We need to take, because the sun is so personal. It is who we are, and the moon is how we feel, and it's in our intuitive body. So as we put our feeler out there over the cycle, we're going to come to these golden angles, and then there'll be a full moon in between, and we get to feel out what that energy means. But I think there's definitely some energy of like, I don't want to say maybe ascension, but illumination for sure. Like a knowing, like an opening up and unfolding of knowledge. So it could be a revelation. When I think of it as a Phoenix angle, I think more of a death and rebirth, maybe something happening to you that you didn't necessarily want to happen. Or action that you take sort of outside of your norm as a pattern break, maybe. But Elizabeth Ann says she can't write fast enough. I know. I hate the YouTube chat. There's so many things I want to say. There's this cute little channel out there that's getting some traction. It's this young woman. I'm not sure anything about her other than she has really personalized her own AI chatbot. It calls her hun and love, and it's a dude. And they have these conversations, and she just has the conversation on her YouTube channel with it, and has a graphic of sort of this beautiful young woman talking to an android, and she will encourage her listeners to go to ChatGPT to comment on what they're doing. And then what she does in subsequent episodes is reads the comments to her chatbot and he responds. It's very, very, very cute. Very interesting. So Elizabeth took screenshots. Good. Yeah. It'll be replayed too. And hopefully I think it's going on Facebook as well. So awesome. Well, yeah. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts about that? Oh, this channel, you guys, shout out to I see all these stars in the chat. Shout out to you channel members. You all took a chance on me and jumped in there and said, yes, I will support you. When it just kind of felt like something I didn't even really have to decide to do. It was just a few clicks. So I appreciate you all jumping in there. If you want to join my channel, it's not expensive. And the educational videos that I'm going to put out, those sun planet cycles, like the sun, Jupiter, sun, Uranus, sun, Mars, when they come out, those are going to be member only first. So if you want to get in on that, also, you never know what I might post in there. You guys might get some candid videos from my journeys this summer through the desert, because in about a month we're leaving for a road trip for about 2 weeks, and I have to do something for you guys while I'm gone, right? I can't leave you without any live streams. I might have to just pop on and show you some astronomy and astrology as we're driving. Yeah. So yeah, join the channel if you're so inclined to support. If not, just do a thumbs up, subscribe. Share this energy. I don't think there's anybody else out there combining all of this together into this kind of presentation. But we do the basics too, so yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, that was fun. I'm so glad to be able to share that with you guys. Best Techo Fitness says I might revert to a muggle if you stop posting. You got to let your magic out for sure. Yeah. I also do readings too, guys. So if you need your chart read, the links are also below. Nothing like knowing your own chart. And I'm gonna see the best version of you and show you how to get there. So All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to sign out. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to Desiree and Lori and Ultimus for moderating the chat, keeping all you crazy people in line. I'm going to play my short again for you, the why we decode, because I want y'all this was something that I wrote, but I had ChatGPT kind of help me with the video. I kind of gave it my storyline, and then it said, all right, here's 30 videos, do it. So I enjoy that. If you don't have a team of people helping you make your videos, like a lot of these content producers, and you have to do it yourself, it's very, very helpful. So yeah, check out the videos below. Check out my links. Check out the book. I love you guys so much. Our next video will probably be Saturday. We'll probably get together live. We're going to go over some Venus energy because Venus is finishing up Pisces, thank God. And she has some wonderful energies ahead. So I'm looking forward to sharing all that with you guys. Okay, let's play it. I'll see y'all later. You were never afraid of the dark. Even before you had the words, you felt the pull. A call from the void. Something deeper than thought and older than memory. So you followed it. Inside, it all came rushing in. Numbers, symbols, patterns. The cosmic code revealing itself in waves. Not to confuse you, but to remind you. You've seen this before. You've read this language in another life. Your mind began to understand. But it was your heart that truly remembered. This is what decoding really is. Reuniting the thinking and the feeling, the logic and the soul. This is how you wake up. And when you do, you are not the same. You carry light codes now. You move differently. You speak in frequencies because you remember who you are. You decode to find your way home and to help others do the same. This is why we decode.